Weapons Inspector David Albright. And the Biden administration appears ready to do whatever it takes to silence Iran with the help of members of the United States Congress, who are, of course, banging the drums for war, have already given the president authorization to attack Iran. And, of course, this goes back to 2002 and even before that, the idea of hitting Iran preemptively. Israel has been pushing for this for decades. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu sitting in front of the United States Congress when Dennis Kucinich asks him this question about preemption. Listen.
You talked about a network of terror. Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
No, the issue is not. First of all, are there other nations that are developing nuclear weapons? Yes.
Should we launch any other preemptive attacks?
First, let me say what they are, and then let me make a suggestion how to proceed.
Thank you.
The answer is categorically yes. The two nations that are competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. So I guess that doesn't include California, but includes Washington. But what it does, a third nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is, while no one is watching.
So Iraq, of course, that's why he's there pushing that. But Iran also, and oh, by the way, Libya, because we've got to get those guys. So 2 out of 3 already in hindsight. So one more on that list for us to take out. Former UN Weapons Inspector Scott Ritter is here to assess all of this and more. Scott, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about, first of all, David Albright, former UN weapons inspector. Is he a former UN weapons inspector and he's now beating the drums? I find the timing of all of this very, very interesting, that Iran is about to have nuclear weapons. Maybe they already do, and we should probably hit them. We should probably attack them right now.
David Albright had a brief interaction with the International Atomic Energy Agency's Iraq inspection group. He was invited to participate in an inspection where they were reviewing documents that had been acquired after Hussein Kamal, the son-in-law, had defected. He's not an inspector. He has no inspection qualifications. He's an outside expert, in quotations we'll put, who came on one mission and has made a career of it afterwards, likening himself to people like myself who spent years planning missions, executing missions, and interacting with the international community about this. I just think if a guy has to falsify his resume to burnish his credentials, then you might want to think twice about the message. But let's focus on the message, not the messenger. This is a man who has been pushing for the violent disarmament of Iraq back in the day. He's a man who bought into defector Hither Hamza, gave him a platform to lie about Iraqi nuclear weapons capabilities. He promoted Hamza's efforts to say that Iraq was pursuing a nuclear weapons program, had a nuclear weapons program worthy of war. David Albright has the blood of thousands of Americans and millions of Iraqis on his hands. He's not an innocent academic. He's not an objective observer. He's an advocate for Israeli policies of regime change in the region, and he's been advocating for conflict against Iran for some time now. He has been at the front of selling a falsified Israeli narrative about Iranian nuclear intentions and capabilities. It's clear to anybody who has a modicum of expertise on Iran's nuclear program that Iran is not pursuing a military program. Iran has made a decision to do that which it is permitted to do under Article 4 of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. I want to make that point to everybody. Iran is in violation of nothing. They're not even in violation of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, because the United States and Europe The United States has backed out and Europe has failed to implement. So Iran has done what it is permitted to do in accordance with paragraphs written by the United States under the assumption that Iran would be the party in noncompliance. Iran is withdrawing from its obligations, until which time the United States and Europe abide by their commitments. Iran is violating no law. They're doing what they're permitted to do under Article 4. They're doing that which they would be permitted to do when the JCPOA reached maturity in any event. So this is not a push for nuclear weapons. This is David Albright, providing a background chorus, so to speak, for Benjamin Netanyahu's ongoing song of war against Iran.
I think that's fascinating, background chorus, because I found the timing of this to be pretty interesting, right? At the moment we hear Iranian-backed groups attack American soldiers in these bases, which, by the way, why do we have so many of these bases scattered around in these illegally occupied areas, whether it's Syria or Jordan or all over the place, right? Even in the New York Times, the Biden administration has admitted that, it's only a matter of time before American forces in these regions are targeted or hit. Well, shocking. They've been telling us for years they don't want us there. Why are we in these areas illegally in the first place? So it's only a matter of time, and the Biden administration admits this. They're sitting ducks. It's almost like they're putting them out there on purpose as decoy pigeons or something, waiting for these Iranian-backed groups to attack us, and that's a justification for us to do something to Iran. Am I wrong about that? Maybe it's just my cynical nature.
Well, in this case, remember, the Biden administration inherited this forced posture. This is something that began under the Obama administration. Of course, Biden was the vice president, but it was continued under Trump. This is an American policy, not a Biden policy, and it's a policy that makes no sense. But the United States, we project force into regions under very dubious claims of legitimacy. We have no legitimacy to be on Syrian territory. We claim it's because we're seeking to destroy ISIS. But if you take a look at the Al-Tam area 55, I think they call it, we're there to actually use ISIS-affiliated Syrian tribal groups against the Syrian government. This is about, destabilizing the government of Bashar al-Assad as part of a larger policy of regime change, again, which Biden has inherited from Trump, who inherited it from Obama. And it's a policy that has gone, it basically, they've stopped actively pursuing it. So they're there doing nothing. That's the point I want to make. American forces are in this position illegally on Syrian territory, illegally. Everything they do is a war crime by definition. They're there with no mission, no viable mission. They've become nothing more than targets, not because the Biden administration wanted them to be targets, but because the Biden administration doesn't have the courage to do a policy review and say there's no reason for continued American presence. See, Americans, the government, we view it as a sign of weakness to do the right thing. If we say, oh, maybe it's time to get out. Oh, no, you'll be attacked this week. And, of course, Biden is running for president. He doesn't want to be seen as weak. The weakest thing an American president can do is allow American soldiers to die for no justification, no just cause. Joe Biden is the weakest president imaginable, because not only have 3 American soldiers died, 34 wounded, but now he's talking about carrying out acts of retaliation that could expand this conflict. And if David Albright and Netanyahu get their way, it would mean a general war with Iran. And here's the kicker, which we would lose. We're not going to win this war.